Hi, everybody. Welcome to Conversation with Calvin, We the Species. It's June, and I'm back with Fernando Rebolledo. Uh, this is our third interview together, and this is so interesting. We just had a break, and I was thinking about this. We met almost 4 years ago when Fernando was beginning his journey through Rutgers to get his master's and eventually his PhD, specifically in this so fascinating, specifically his PhD in bioengineering and biomedical engineering. His journey has been so fascinating to me, quite amazing to me. And it's funny, each time we do our thing here, I scratch my head, and as much as I try to understand, I have no idea what you do, why you do it. It's beyond. But your journey is so interesting. Getting your bachelor's at Veracruzana, if I'm saying it right.
Yep.
Okay, and then doing some work, some work at USC, working in the nuclear plant in the only nuclear plant in Canada, then getting a Fulbright
Oh, in
scholarship.
Mexico. In Mexico.
Mexico, right.
Yeah, yeah,
Mexico, yes. I guess I'm so excited to do this. And then the Fulbright scholarship, and of course you do active mentoring this day, as you're a Fulbright alum, and then eventually getting here to Rutgers University in New Brunswick. That's how we kind of met. And your master's and your PhD, which I mentioned. Your whole journey now, you're a Mexican scientist living in Massachusetts, another part
yeah.
of our interview. So your background is most amazing, and you're so open to give back. Another special quality about you, Fernando, which
Hmm.
I mentor students myself, and I've been doing that for the last 8 years. It's just a wonderful thing. So, without further ado, that's my introduction to folks. This is just one fascinating, interesting guy, and I'm thrilled that you're giving the time to do this, the giving back. So, I'm done. Just a quick little background, if you want to say a
Yep.
couple words, and then we'll jump into some of the things I would like to ask you. Take it away.
Sure. All right. Yep. Well, first of all, Calvin, thank you so much for inviting me one more time, right? It's the third time, and I'm so happy to be here and sharing with you what's going on in my life and what's the news, right, of my life, my life in the US and all the cool stuff I'm working on and I did work, and all the stuff I'm having going on. Um, so yeah, as you say, I'm from Mexico, right? I was born and raised in Mexico, in a little town called Veracruz, Mexico, right? Which is, it's a port in the next to the Gulf of Mexico. So I have, the beauty of the ocean all the time. So peaceful, so, incredible, right? Sunrise, sunset. It's just amazing, right? I love my hometown. I miss my hometown, but I am right now where I need to be. All right. So that's what I always think. Right. So yeah, I grew up there. I did my bachelor's there. I did my bachelor's in electrical engineering at the University of Veracruz or Universidad Veracruzana, right? And after that, like I think was one of the best experiences in my life to study electrical engineering, right? And I got interested in engineering through my middle school, right? When I was in middle school, this physics professor, he was teaching some physics experiments. I got excited and I asked him, "What do you study?" And he said, like, "Oh, I am an electrical engineer." And I'm like, "Oh, I want to be an electrical engineer. That's what I want to do." Right.
Wow.
So that was so important. That was kind of like mentoring in a way, right? Like he was teaching, but he was, you know, putting that little seed in the brain of the students, right? To do this kind of stuff, right? So it was amazing. So I decided to do electrical engineering. I did my electrical engineering. I got good teachers, good mentors, and one scientist in one nano research center in the University of Veracruz. He almost like grabbed me and said like, "Hey, I think you're pretty good. You may be able to help me out with some like paper readings and kind of investigate what we can do with the resources we have, right?" So what I ended doing is I ended working with him in his laboratory, and that was my first experience with research, right? It was more theoretical rather than practical, but that's the way it is. Mexico is limited in resources, but we are not limited in grain mines, right? That's why we are not limited. So I was able to push in, theoretical stuff in me, and then he said, "Hey, I think you have the grades. I think you have all the skills to apply for this scholarship that will allow you to have a mentor, and this mentor is usually overseas or in the US, and maybe he can guide you a little bit." I applied to that scholarship. I got this mentor. Through this mentor, right, I was able to connect with people from USC, and then I was able to do, during my undergrad, I was able to do some research experience during a summer at USC. That was back in 2015, right? So I'm really grateful with this mentor. This is what mentors are supposed to do. They are supposed to, help you, guide you, trying to show you the path, and try to give you a hand with opportunities, right? And since then, I have been a mentor. Since 2015, it's almost 10 years now,
Wow.
right? So it's just incredible. I did my research experience. I went back to Mexico, finished my degree, worked in a nuclear power plant, as you mentioned, the one and only in Mexico,
Wow.
and it's in my hometown, Veracruz, right? Or home state, Veracruz. I did work there for 5, 6 months, and then after that, I applied for a Fulbright scholarship. I got the Fulbright scholarship, and then I jumped to Rutgers University. That easy. Well, I'm saying that easy, but it's not easy, right?
Not
It's a
easy.
lot of work. It's a lot of work, but I have been, I won't say privileged, but I would say I have been, given the opportunities, right? And it's so important when you get the opportunity to take it away, to take it and use it in the right way, right? If you have opportunities, use them in the right way, do the right thing. And I have been wise enough to do the right things, um, you know, since then, right? So I came to the US for Rutgers University. I did my PhD and master's in biomedical engineering, but my focus was mostly in micro and nanotechnologies, right? And I was creating like little devices, right? Getting into clean rooms environment, using semiconductor equipment, and fabricating these devices to be applied to biomedical applications and biomedical devices, right?
Wow. Wow.
That's like my kind of my trajectory. Yeah. So you have any questions? Well, I'm currently, I'm as you say, I'm living in Massachusetts, but you can ask me more. Yeah.
We're going to talk about living in
Yeah.
By the way, interesting. We never talked about this before.
Hmm.
Before we went on air, I told you I have AFib.
Hmm.
And the only way for me to know I'm in atrial fibrillation is I have to go to the doctor and I have to do an EKG. They have to do an EKG on me, so it's very impractical. You know, you can't go there every day, and AFib's a terrible thing. But anyway, 3 or 4 years ago, they invented, and I'm thinking of you. They
Hmm.
invented this. This is an
Okay.
EKG machine.
Hmm.
This takes my EKG and it sends it to the doctor if I want it. So I put my 2 fingers, it's called cardia. I took my
Hmm.
2 fingers on either thing, and in 30 seconds, I have a real accurate EKG. And this has
Amazing.
been a lifesaver. So this is
It is.
kind of
Yeah.
in some of the things you do, a lifesaver. That
It is. Yeah.
yeah, a lifesaver. I don't
It's
I
it's
have one in
incredible.
every room.
It's incredible how much micro nano and nanotechnology and technology in general is around in our surroundings every day, right? Like we don't know the amount of brain that people use to create this kind of stuff, right? And they're just life changing, right? And allows to people to live longer, right? And allows to be more prepared for XYZ disease, right? Or any problem we may have, right? So
Yeah,
it's just amazing.
it is amazing.
Every time I read some news and read about new devices, I just get as excited as I was in 2015.
Yeah, it's
You know?
so, and it's such a simple little thing. It's not expensive, yet it changes my whole life around.
Hmm.
I know if I'm an AFib, and then we know how to treat it, and it's like I'm my own doctor.
Yep.
It's a wonderful thing, and it's changed my life around. So that
Yep.
in part is some of the things that you do. Um, just semi off topic, what is it like being a Mexican scientist in the United States? And how is it living in Massachusetts?
Being a Mexican scientist or a person with a PhD as a Mexican in the US has been interesting in the good way, right? Interested in the good way. We are a few only, um, you know, but we are there, right? We can be fine. In Massachusetts, I have been trying to connect to Mexican scientists, right, to make like this kind of like a society and maybe work in different projects, right? And always that I know somebody is Mexican, born in Mexico, and a scientist in the US, I always try to connect, right? Because I want to have like a good like network so we can, may kind of like share our interest of what we're doing and we can motivate people, right? That's the whole idea. We can keep motivating students that if we were able to make it happen, they can make it happen, right? Like, and we are always willing to help and always willing to just to support as much as possible, right? So it has been unique experience. I think has been rewarding. People get excited knowing that, oh, you are from Mexico. Wait, and also you have a PhD, and also you are a scientist working in material science. And they get excited because they want to know my experience so far. And I always love to share, right? Like I had good like mentors, advisors, friends, and also not only I received help from them, but also I was able to help them from my experiences, right? So it has been incredible. And now living in Massachusetts, in fact, today marks 1 year since I
Wow.
moved officially
Wow.
to Massachusetts, right? And so far so good. I love Massachusetts. I love the town where I am. So I mean, really literally close to the ocean, right? It's in Gloucester, Massachusetts. So it's just beautiful. I love it. I love to go outside in the evenings, take pictures of the sunset in different points around, the Cape. And that keeps me, so excited, so happy about where I live. And I just think that Massachusetts is great. Massachusetts has been really nice with me, but also the key is that I have been really nice with Massachusetts.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. Perfect. Um, Next, there's an element to you that not only fascinates, but it thrills me. Your journey to mentoring students and giving back.
Mhm.
It's such an important thing. You mentored Fulbright applicants, and you continue to mentor, and you set examples for Mexican youth. So talk about that whole experience and what it means to
Yeah.
you.
So, we go back to what I mentioned to you, right? 2015 or 14, right? When I got this scholarship when I was in the University of Veracruz, I got the opportunity to have a mentor that at that time, this mentor was at UCLA, right, doing his master's. And he connected me with people at USC that they used to have this program for Mexican students to go for a summer, right? So I don't know if I was smart enough or I was just clever enough that I decided to, you know, be not afraid. You send that email asking, hey, I'm not from the normal university that you bring students to USC. I'm from this university, which is different, but I have a lot of attitude in a good way. I have a lot of like excitement about helping, and I'm seeking opportunities. These are my grades. This is my statement of purpose. If you give me a shot, I will always be grateful. And you know what? They give me a shot, right? They give me an
Yeah.
opportunity. But this was never happened if I hadn't had that mentor, right? So since then, I'm like mentoring students is so important for their development, right? For their development, for their future, for guiding them, right? Because if even people with PhDs, they have mentors, right? So people with masters, they have a PhD mentor or someone else with a lot more experience. Students like they are in bachelors, they have mentors. So it's like a chain, right? Just as I'm mentoring students, there's people mentoring me to become a better person, a better scientist, a better human being, right? And that's important, being a better human being, right? Because that's what the world needs right now, to be a better human being, right? And that's so important for me. Um, so mentoring is essential, and I feel is the key to many, successes in the world, right? And many like, um, opportunities, right? So I have been doing that since 2015. It's almost 10 years now,
Wow. Wow.
right? I did it with, Fulbright applicants, giving him some recommendations. This could help in your application. Maybe do this, do that. Um, what are your skills? I think you have more skills because people sometimes, this is the thing, right? People sometimes they don't know the amount of skills they have, right? But they need to have someone else from the outside telling them, hey,
Mhm.
I think you are really smart. I think you have a lot of capabilities. I think you have a lot of ambition, which is good, right? I think you're really good at this. Please put it on your resume, share it with people, right? I think you're clever in this way, express it, right? These kind of things usually is what students are lacking or missing. But that's why mentors are for, just to try to help them to be able to open up and show how good they are, right?
Yeah.
So,
I personally identify with everything you said. I've been mentoring for 8 or 9 years
mhm.
at Rutgers in communication, writing, journalism, and some broadcasting, some of the things I do. And it's funny, Rutgers got wind of it and they asked me to mentor, and then they asked me to mentor two students. And then there was an underground at Rutgers. When I found out there's somebody there who can communicate and who wants to, the students kept, emailing me, contacting me. So at my peak before the pandemic, I was mentoring 14 students full time.
Wow.
I'm running back and forth to Henry's Diner. I would never say no to a student who wanted to be helped and mentored. So I was doing 14 students. I mean, I used to stay at the diner all day, and one student after the other. But it's just a wonderful feeling to give back. And that's a good segue to the next question that you had brought up about being open to new things and culture going forward.
Oh
Uh,
yes, like that's a great question, and I will take some of my current job, right? So I'm a process engineer slash R&D engineer, right? Working for a semiconductor company, and most of the scientists or people around the company are internationals, right? And that's so important because we can learn from different cultures, we can learn from different ways of thinking, right? And the different experience that they have and they are bringing, right? So that's so important because it just builds you as a human, right? And allows you to, to improve things and make things better, right? So I have been always open, I don't care, I don't care which which I could say this. Yeah, I don't care about
you don't care about politics or anything.
I don't care about politics or labels, right? I just whatever is good for the world, let's just try to share it, right? So that's really my motto, right? So I'm always open to learn from people. I'm always open to share my own experience and my culture to people around me, right? So they can see like, oh, Mexicans are this way, they are labeled this way, but they are not like that, right? So these kind of things, it just makes people change their mind and be open and be more friendly and be more welcoming, right? Because that's what we need, to be more welcoming sometimes, right? And
Right.
that's my thought about that. Yep.
That's great. And that's what it's, and that's what it's all about. We forget things here on Earth. We have we have climate issues to deal with, and that's it's so and we need each other
Mhm.
in order to solve this problem. And if we're going to be around, we need each other. And that's being open to new cultures and stuff. So
Correct. Yeah.
uh, and I try to model. I've done 330 of these interviews,
Mhm.
and with people just about
Wait, 300 you said?
330 of these.
Wow.
Yeah, that is a wow. That is a wow. I do it because I love doing it. And then I looked, and I've done these with people from Mexico and
Mhm.
Lebanon and Cameroon and India and Australia and Borneo and Ecuador. Of course, here in the States, Ukraine, Slovenia. And it's all about, we're fundamentally all the same.
Mhm.
And which is what you just said, and we just kind of need each other. So I believe that too. You're young and I'm old, but it's the same value. Uh, Maybe that's what kind of bonds us. We have pretty strong value, the same kind of values.
Oh yeah.
As we kind of wind down, do you have any like personal projects, personal things you wanna do in the next couple of years and stuff, or?
Right now there is a project I'm trying to start with my former university in Mexico. I'm trying to develop like this. I'm working on that, right? So I'm gonna give you some hints. What I'm trying to do is a special mentoring programs for the best students that would like to do grad school overseas or in the US or even in Mexico, right? As I said, sometimes you need mentors to push a student, letting them know, hey, there's this opportunity and I think you are really good and you will be a perfect fit. Sometimes we need people to push us to be able to succeed and keep moving forward, right? So I'm trying to develop this program, trying to connect with other people that have also like grad school education. And if they want to join the project, right? Um, and help me with, supporting and, providing guidance to students from my former university, that would be great. So that's one project I'm working on right now. That's a personal one. And then the other one is trying to keep increasing my connections right now in Massachusetts, either with other scientists. Doesn't need to be Mexican, but if they are Mexican, that would be great. As I said, we are few, but we are around there, right? So I have connected with a few now, which I feel like is great, right? And right now I'm trying to become part of this organization. Well, I'm part of it, IEEE, Institute of Electrical and Electronic Engineers, right? And I'm trying to be the chair for student activities, right? I am the chair for student activities for several chapters around Massachusetts. So I just started that recently, and I'm working on that, trying to, show students all the opportunities they have through this organization, but also just for their careers in the future, right? So it's a new project for me. I'm excited. I just started probably like a few weeks ago,
Uh-huh.
right? And so I'm still like trying to set it up, coming up with ideas, but that's something I just started. And I started doing this a year after, because after a year, I'm like, I think I know a little bit more about Massachusetts and what maybe is missing or what we can do better, right? So yeah,
Okay. Wow.
yeah,
Busy,
yeah,
busy, busy,
yeah.
busy stuff. Um, One of the last things I wanted to ask, I always like to ask this, especially these days, and you're kind of in the middle of so much. Your feelings about AI, the good, bad, future. Um,
So
will AI
the
help you in your work also?
we're definitely using AI, even for schools, right? Or for for schools. And when I was in school, people were using AI to help them with the data analysis. at work, yeah, we use AI to try to improve our data analysis and, you know, use it in a good way, because you always need to use things in the good way, right? You can also use it in the bad way. But I think AI is a good tool, it's a good resource for scientists or for any person, any student, right? But it needs to be used wisely, right? That's key, to be able to use it wisely, right? So yes, so that's my opinion about AI. I think it's a great tool. It can be used to improve our lives, improve our technologies, those current technologies, right? But we need to know how to use it, right? Like right now, I think like people can generate like images on AI, which they are
Yeah.
really amazing, right? But now you can also generate other images that it shouldn't be there generated, right? So again, we need to be able to use it more, effectively, right?
Funny.
And in the
You
right way. Yeah.
you said images, and I and a few months ago, I went to AI. I use a few different AIs, and I asked AI, I'm afraid of it. I'm afraid of AI. Draw me a picture of my fear of AI, and this is what it drew for me.
Hmm.
Isn't that funny?
It is.
Yeah, it's very funny. It took it about 15 seconds. I said, draw me some pictures showing my fear of AI, and this is what it drew for me. Funny.
It is.
It is funny. And I'm an old timer, and yet I have 3 or 4 different programs that I use, and I ask it a million different things. Even should I go see this movie? Uh, by the way, do you go to a lot of movies?
I used to. I stopped.
Oh,
I used to go to watch some movies
okay,
the last few months, but I used to stop. I decided to dedicate my time more
right.
with the mentoring, and new
Yeah.
projects, right? But I love to go to the movies for sure. Yes, yes.
Uh, do you have like a couple favorite movies? Can you?
Um, you know, it would be old movies,
Oh,
right?
yeah,
But
I love old movies.
like usually like comedy movies are my favorite,
Okay.
right? They're pretty good, but I also like there are no movies, but there are more documentaries. Every time I watch a documentary, it just blows my mind, right? Especially the nature ones, right? It's just amazing how to see and learn from,
Yes,
from the nature, right? Because
correct.
most of the science right now, we talked about this before, much of the science right now is being done after observing nature, because everything is there. We just need to learn how to do it like them and replicate it and use it, for the humankind, and how we can use it in the right way and to improve our lives, right? So, it's just amazing.
Yeah,
It's just amazing. So that's why I like documentaries.
same here.
Yes. Yeah.
I spend a lot of time watching historical documentaries. I finished my third viewing of the Vietnam War by Ken Burns. It's like 15 hours to watch it. But I grew up doing Vietnam, and that was part of my life. I don't know if I ever showed you. When I was your age, well, a little bit older, I was worried about the war, so I drew this. I drew that in 1970 to express, myself with uh, civil rights and
Hmm.
brotherhood and the war, because I was very concerned with that. So I watch it. I watch documentaries too. Anyway,
Yeah.
uh, yeah, I could talk to you for a long, long time, but we're gonna kind of stop this now and get and we'll work on number 4 coming up. Because as you
Yep.
do all these projects and the work, if ever there's anything I can do to help or to do a forum or whatever, I'm
Yep.
always
That will be awesome. Yeah, that will be
I'm
awesome.
always here for
Yeah.
you. You're going to be dealing with students down in Mexico. Whatever I can do,
Okay.
because we're brothers in Rutgers.
Yep. Yep. That's true.
And whatever I can do going forward, and we spent lots of time together. It's always my pleasure uh, to do stuff with you.
Yep.
And So I want to thank you so much, Fernando, for your time.
Nope, I thank you for allowing me the time. I always appreciate it. Yeah.
No, and I appreciate this too, and I appreciate you.
Yeah.
And we'll again, I'm always here for you. And this
Thank you,
is to be
Calvin. Yeah.
continued. And
Yes.
I like when I say that, to be continued, because it has been continued. So I'm going to stop recording. Don't leave. We'll do a quick wrap.
Yep.
And again, thank you so much, and good luck with everything you do. And maybe
Thank
someday
you.
I'll know what you're doing. I'll
Yes.
understand what you're doing. It's
Sounds
not
good.
my thing.
Yep.
You know, when I took physics, actually I took physics in Ohio, it wasn't for me. And so when the professor wasn't, he was writing something on a blackboard. They used to do that back in the 60s. He turned his back and he wrote something on the blackboard. I snuck out of class. I didn't even want to go to lectures in physics. It was above me. And here you are doing the stuff you're doing.
Yeah.
So you are so special, and I thank you. To be continued.
Yep.
Okay.